Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and The Northman is one of my favorite movies to come out of Hollywood in a very, very long time. I enjoyed it so much and thought it was incredible. Now, there was a whole lot of drama surrounding the movie, mainstream sites saying like it's toxic masculinity and trying to make a statement on all of that. I really didn't appreciate any of that, and I think it was very misplaced. And Robert Eggers even had some rough comments about it. But it seems like his comments here are redeeming himself, at least to a certain extent, when it comes to his approach to this movie. So he has some great comments here that I want to break down, and it really gives me hope for him again as, just as a regular spokesperson or a director or whatnot. Because, yeah, this movie was incredible. He disappointed me with the stupid stuff, but this may overcome that to a certain extent. So yeah, the Northman director, Robert Eggers, is sick of cinema's modern, tiresome, lame commercial culture. And I would agree with that. That's the whole thing with Marvel, is it is extremely lazy, everything that they do. It's churning it out from a machine, and there's no creativity or soul behind it. His movie, whether or not you liked it, had so much creativity and soul behind it. Every frame and every line of dialogue, everything seemed to have a purpose and try to craft this narrative that I just loved so much. But yeah, let's get into his comments here. So he starts out saying, I'm very grateful that most of the people were able to see the movie for what it really was, which is great. Every once in a while, people are saying it's glorifying violence and masculinity and this kind of thing. It confuses me. But I think that when you try to impose contemporary morals on the past, when you're telling the story, you lose a lot. You lose it. And that's something that I've been saying since this movie was originally announced, is we can't judge the past by today's standards, or no one comes out of it looking good. Even the paragons of history like Lincoln, Gandhi, all of them, they all have things that would not fit with today's environment. So we can't judge them by today's standards. We have to judge them by their day's standard. And when you're telling a story about a past, you have to make them fit within the world. A contemporary person would not make sense in the era of the Vikings. And so you would lose the authenticity. You'd lose the story of the Northman if everyone was just some sort of social justice warrior from today's day and age. So I think that is a great way of putting it, that we can't impose our morals on the past, because no one comes out of that looking good. And we don't really come out of it looking good, because you have to remember, in 100, 200 years, maybe there'll be something that is discovered that makes us seem morally reprehensible. And you wouldn't want to be judged by that day's standard. You want to be judged by today's standard. So have a little bit of empathy and realize that you may be judged the same way in the future that you're judging the past. So I think that was a really great way of putting it, and being like, hey, we're going to tell the story we want to tell for authenticity's sake. He goes on to say, I'm trying my very best to articulate the physical material world of the Viking Age accurately, and also the Viking mindset without judgment. And that is another key thing, is that you can't judge them by today's standards, like he was saying earlier, and what I was saying earlier. It's very disingenuous to judge them, and I really appreciate that he wasn't. And yes, he was very accurate to the physical material world of the Viking Age, at least to my understanding. And it was an incredible movie. I can't sell it enough. It was a great movie. Also, this is brutal work, So then it's to the audience to come to their own conclusions and stuff. I'm going to do that. It's impossible to be sanitized. Yeah, that era, you can't sanitize it, or you'd lose everything that was, vital to the age. You'd lose so much about character. You'd lose so much about the world building. And so it was very important that he did it the way he did it. And I really enjoyed it for what it was. Then he goes on to have some great comments about what it's like working for a studio in today's corporate environment. And so he goes on to say, Eggers observed, you're censoring yourself because it's not about me, me, me. So you're like, oh, I got to rein that back because that's not what this altarpiece needs to be. Closing on the thought, he said, any worldview where everything around them is full of meaning is exciting to me because we live in such a tiresome, lame commercial culture now. And I think that's a great way of putting it, because everything is so homogenous these days. It's all about selling the next product. Just like Amazon's new Rings of Power show, that commercial that they put out for it is like, hey, watch the show, so you order things from Amazon. And it's more like, hey, buy stuff. And it's all meaningless these days. But he saying that he was attracted to this world of the Vikings because everything was unique and had a purpose and was full of meaning. And that is very exciting to me as well. And it's one of the reasons I enjoyed the movie so very much. It wasn't heartless. It wasn't just homogenous buy. Now, I am a fan of capitalism, but this isn't capitalism. This is consumerism. And I think that's a very distinct distinction that is very damaging to our today's culture. So him pointing that out and saying, hey, I wish we could go back to where everything had its own meaning, its own artistic purpose almost. So it's a very interesting way of him putting it, about making a statement about our culture, but not in a political way. A lot of, actors, directors, writers these days, when they're talking about stuff like this, they're trying to make a political statement about their movies and whatnot. He's not making a political statement. He's just making a statement about our culture, and that's something he very much has purview over. And I think this was a great way of putting it that I 100% agree with. So yeah, Robert Eggers fully redeemed himself in my eyes after those dumb comments he made a few years back. He made one of my favorite movies of all time, so I'm gonna have to give him the benefit of the doubt in all things, and I don't need to anymore because these are some great comments that really compliment the movie, and that's what a great interview is supposed to do, is compliment the movie. So that's pretty much all he had to say, and those were just really great way of putting it, making a statement about our today's culture, and the lack of judgment, I think, is something that we all very much need to learn, because if we're judging them by today's standards, nobody wins. Even people you like from history don't win. Judge them by their day's standards, because they were doing the best they could in a lot of situations. And I think that's the most important thing, is our culture's view of our own history. And, the Northman did a very good job at that and not judging. And I think that's something that needs to be highlighted again and again. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon. If you like what I do here and want to see good, compelling stories that Hollywood will no longer give you, check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues. Books 1, Down in Flames, and Book 2, Apocalypse Then, currently on sale. Book 3, Kill the Dark, coming soon.